So it's time to take a look at the Annihilator, which honestly is a very interesting ship. Now, it is in a weird position. A lot of players are comparing it to the Megatron Navy and putting it between the Megatron Navy and the actual Vindicator. So honestly, it has some very interesting stats to it, as you will see. But does it feel kind of underwhelming? Well, I don't know. In my case, from my experience, it did perform really well. Now let's take a look at the trade description. It has a 40% status with a resistance bonus, and it can fit a repair module that I'll show you later on. The ship takes advantage of expert skills. You get a very decent damage bonus, have web speed decrease bonus, range and warp disruptor range, as well as a warp drive penalty bonus. Now when you look at the skill description of this ship, as we will see in a moment when we compare the Annihilator to the Vindicator, they are very similar. The Annihilator does have a lot more hit points, it is tankier, but I mean, look at the roll bonus, for example, 25% web resistance on the Vindicator, 40% on the Annihilator, and obviously the Vindicator cannot fit the repair modules. The Annihilator will have slightly higher damage output on the railguns, 16 versus 14% per skill level, same tracking on both, and when we look at the web strength and the range, it does seem that they have the same bonus, 10% on both the Vindicator and Annihilator. The only difference is that the Annihilator has a warp drive bonus, which is interesting, and I don't really think that the warp drive bonus will do much, since it's a battleship. It does have a lot of capacitor. Now, one little interesting thing that I was told to check out the descriptions of these ships. When you read the description, you come to the part where Capsuleers jokingly refer to it as invincible within 1 kilometer, hinting at the fact that you can do a 0 kilometer orbit around these ships and they're unable to hit you. Now, against a Vindicator, for example, that might be a bit troublesome if you are webbed by one of these things, since they are known to have some very nasty webs. So yeah, I mean, depends on the ship. Serpentis ships can actually do a 0 kilometer orbit against other Serpentis ships, which is very interesting. Now, this is not my ship. My friend borrowed the ship so I can play around with it, and this is basically my friend's build. It has a scrambler, no bonus on the scrambler, only on the disruptor, and I'll just quickly show you the maximum range. Now with the Predator disruptors you get about 45 kilometers. Now I don't have a Predator disruptor here, I'll just use a Caldari. Actually I do have, but I don't use it. 41.25, so basically the same range as the Vindicator, same range as the Anubis, Ortrus, and all the other ships that have a bonus on the disruptor range. Predator Webbifer minus 91.50% velocity speed adjustment, so definitely very powerful webs, and range 22.20 kilometers, which is very nice. Even one web will be more than enough, but I would actually still use dual webs on the Vindicator or the Annihilator, just to make sure that the target is not moving. 2 armor repairs, adaptive harness, oh my god, this is expensive shit. I didn't check the build beforehand, but yeah, I feel like this is a decently priced, and oh my god, it is. Well, actually it's not too bad. 4P60 integrations, yeah, pretty decent rig setup, I would say. I actually like it, and we do get some capacitor rigs on this ship as well. Capacitor stable, which is very nice, but I think that this ship should be capacitor stable even without the capacitor battery. We'll check that out. Now, as for the nanocores, you do have a lot of older nanocores available for this ship, which is a good thing. Now, I've been told not all nanocores are available, so if you have the Vindicator, there's a good chance that your nanocore will work, but at the same time, there's also a slight chance that the nanocore might not be compatible. So that's, I guess, one thing that's kind of not exactly a 50-50, but you know, I'm not really sure how they imagine that would work. So if you have an nanocore, there's a good chance that it will work, but at the same time, it might not work. I just hope that it does work. Did work for the Nubis that I use, that has the Death Wish nanocore now. So what would I do with the build of this ship? Now, of course, I have to return this ship in the same form that I found it. So hopefully I don't mess up the modules when I return everything in its place. One thing I forgot to add here is the repair module, so I'll have to go and do a Yita trip to go and buy one of these. Yeah, will be fun to actually see how this works. Now, I've been told that the repair module is kind of a mini Citadel Bastion module. The idea behind that is not bad, but the Bastion module, the Citadel module, is just much more powerful repair-wise. Does give much better repairs. So this ship can use the module, but at the same time, if you're not using it, you're not missing out on a much, since it doesn't have 5 medium slots, only 4. So you will have one module slot eaten up by the repair module. And just to show you the buff that you get from the module, I mean, it's definitely not bad. It's usable, definitely. Will probably have some use if you're actively tanking the Annihilator. But this ship can be used like the Vindicator, can be used like the Megatron Navy, Megatron Striker. It can go full DPS. Obviously, it's not going to have a siege mode, but the Vindicator also doesn't have a siege mode, and it has some pretty nasty DPS, so you can use this ship the same way. And the Citadel module, or in this case the repair module, well, it is nice to have. It's not really, necessary to have it all the time. Maybe if you have like a active tank build, it can work. These ships are kind of meant to be tanked in a way, depending on the faction ship, I guess, but with this ship in this case, you do have a lot of options to choose from. And here you can take a look at the stats of the repair module. Definitely the Citadel module is more powerful. It basically doubles the repair, which I find very interesting. And tank-wise, active tank-wise, when it comes to battleships, the bombers are the strongest. Nothing comes close to the repair power of a bomber battleship, or marauder as I like to call them, because of the Citadel module that basically doubles your repair. Unfortunately, you don't get this on this ship. Would be funny if it was available on the Annihilator. So, let's see how the tank looks now. I did a damage control. I do like damage controls a lot. They are a necessity if you are flying expensive ships, especially in PvE, in PvP as well. So the damage control kind of a must-have module now. Not entirely necessary for all ships, but I'd feel naked without a damage control nowadays. Not bad, 88 to 87% to 86%. So not bad, very balanced because of the integrations, which are actually, I would say, very, very decent. And just a bit over 3.07 million hit points with the damage control. So yeah, you do get a fairly good tank with this ship. It's honestly surprisingly good when it comes to capacitor as well as the tank. Of course, they do have a lot more raw hit point over the base variant of its base faction ship variant of the Vindicator. Same thing can be said about the other new ships. They definitely are more focusing on the defense upgrade over everything else. Now, with dual Nosferatus, yeah, definitely is capacitor stable, does look decent. And even without a capacitor battery, it seems that it would work just fine, because after all, it doesn't have any afterburner, doesn't have any micro warp drives, and the armor by default is using much less capacitor than the shield boosters, which in return will be very easy on a capacitor. Can you do a shield tank on this? I think you can. I don't think it does specify specifically that you should do a armor only. I just prefer armor on the Serpentis ships because they have a lot more armor than they have shield. I mean, it's after all technically a Galenta ship. Fusion between, Galenta and Annihilator should be the thing with Serpentis. So can technically go both, armor or shield. Never mix, obviously, never mix both, but yeah, if you want a shield tank, I would actually go a shield passive tank for PvP and a armor tank for PvP. That seems the way to go nowadays in the game. But let's see, I did get a little bit more hit points now with 3 adaptives and a damage control. Should be a little bit more over 3.1 million, yeah, just a bit more over 3.1 million. Not bad, pretty good actually, pretty solid. The reactive hardener is actually good, very good. And I like to mix the reactives and adaptives. Reactive is good against lasers, railguns, drones, and in some cases against missiles. But if you don't plan, or if you don't know what type of ship you're encountering, just using full adaptives is also going to make things work. You will get higher numbers on the armor or on the shield, depending on what hardener you use. Now, when I looked at the Azazel, it wasn't really a ship that I would personally recommend for PvE because it doesn't have any web bonuses. Now, this thing, on the other hand, doesn't have that problem, and it actually will benefit a lot if you fit webs on this ship. So PvE wise and PvP wise, webs are kind of a must-have. So 3 scramblers and a web, or 2 webs and 2 scramblers, depending on the nanocore that you have, obviously, should be fairly decent. The webs will definitely make your enemy stop in place. After all, it is a Serpentis ship, and we all know by now, I hope that we all know by now, that Serpentis ships have very nasty webs, and if they catch you with the webs, you can be in big trouble, since the inertia of being webbed, being slowed down, can actually prevent you from warping, since your ship will attempt to warp at just a little bit shy over 0.1 meter per second in this case, in the case of the Serpentis ship. And if you're going 1,000 meters per second, yeah, it will take a while for your ship to slow down and warp. So you can technically prevent or slow down the enemy ship's warp if you web them down while they're going full speed. If they are stationary and if you web them, they can insta warp, since 80% of warp is reached very quickly if the 80% is about 0.1 meter per second with the Serpentis webs. Can actually help freighters warp around. Should, in theory, I haven't done that myself in this game, but I know the trick used to work in Evo 9. So, this is how a classic full yeet DPS build usually looks like on these ships. It is a classic, I mean, it's kind of what a lot of players are using now. I have this built on the Megathron Striker, I have something similar on the Macariel. Usually I swap the extender with an adaptive. You can use a adaptive hardener if you like instead of the plate, or you can use a plate. Honestly, it really depends on player preference. The only thing that this ship is missing are the DPS rigs. Obviously I can't break the rigs, they are not mine, so I can just swap out the rigs. and add DPS rigs, but you can definitely get some pretty nasty DPS on this thing. I mean, I know the Vindicator can get some pretty scary DPS, and this is kind of a buffed Vindicator, a little bit higher DPS is to be expected, so yeah, you can definitely expect, if you have good skills, good rigs, DPS rigs, you can expect some pretty damn nasty DPS out of this thing. And of course, if you have the implant, most importantly, the high power coil or the thermocirculation implant will both will work. The thermocirculation is basically a shotgun mode, the high power coil is less DPS but a lot more balanced. So yeah, both have their use. I use both. I prefer the thermocirculation myself because of the extra tank and extra DPS when needed, so kind of a multi-purpose implant. Now, the magic question, PvE. Can this ship do PvE? Yes, it can. The webs on the Serpentis ship hull just makes them very good PvE machines. The high DPS from the implant, from the skills and from the ship itself also allow you for some really good clear time. So yeah, you can definitely use this thing for PvE. Unfortunately, you know, I say unfortunately, not unfortunately for this ship, but unfortunately for the Azazel. While the Azazel would definitely be maybe more effective for PvE if it had webs, but unfortunately for PvE, if you have to choose between Azazel and this thing, just take the Annihilator. Webs make a huge difference, slowing down the target, making it easier to hit. Yeah, that's very important for PvE. And you can fit like 3 webs. You don't really need the repair module when you're running PvE in high sec. For high sec islands, you know, stuff like that, yeah, this thing will be really good. Maybe the only drawback might be the blaster range, but again, you can easily adjust that with a bit of a build adjustment, add a tracking computer, stuff like that. So range, while being definitely shorter than lasers, it's not unusable. It's going to get the job done. So definitely a decent PvE machine based on the previous experience that I've had with the Vindicator and with other ships that have extended web range.
Destination reached.
And well, let's take this little ship for a little ride and let's just see how it handles. And I can tell you right away, it does handle, that's warp fast. Now one thing that I would say is very decent is the warp speed. It aligns fast, it enters warp fast, and that might be, you know, beneficial for some tactics, might suit some players' gameplay. In my case, from my perspective, from a Battleship perspective, nothing beats the Macaria, which is a oversized cruiser, by the way. The developers even confirmed that. It's no longer a meme. The Macaria is a oversized cruiser, even the developers acknowledge that. So yeah, it's the joke became a real thing in the game, and I love it. But yeah, when it comes to battleships, I would say the Macaria is still unmatched, or the Marzio in this case, in the new ship case here, is unmatched when it comes to warp speed. The Angel ship's warp speed is just it's big, and while having a very good align speed is good, warp speed is unmatched when it comes to, if you compare it with the Macaria or the Marzio. But honestly, I can see it being used for fleets. Having a ship that aligns fast is also very important. So yeah, I guess the little warp drive bonus there to get from the skills is, you know, usable. Not the bonus that I would actually put on this ship, and this is just a personal, you know, perspective. I would actually, I mean, it's a Serpentis ship, right? So what would I add? I mean, it already does have the repair module, right? So I would replace the warp drive. From my personal perspective here, I would replace the warp drive for a 25% bonus on armor repair per skill level, and that would work really well if combined with the repair module, and you know, wouldn't have the need to have the Bastion module installed. Would just have the about the same bonus as the Bastion module on the bomber battleships, on the Marauders, with the new module, repair module, plus the bonus that you get, or a bonus on the repair module would also be would be a nice little addition. No, I'm not saying that they will change that. It's just a thing that I would do if I were a developer. Since if I'm already giving a ship a new module, why not give the ship a bonus on that new module? Because make make the module be a crucial part of the ship. I mean, the developers are kind of pushing the, and it's a good thing that they're actually doing the push onto the modular ship design. I think that's a very nice thing to have, modular ships. While big things being cancelled this update, but they'll be working on it, and I'm all in for modular ship designs. I'm all in for tech-free cruisers and stuff like that. So the good thing is they're going towards it with the module, with unique modules and stuff like that. So if they're going all the way with that, if I were the developer, I would add a repair bonus onto the repair module that this ship has. And maybe I would do the same thing with the previous ships that I take a look at. Maybe a sniper bonus on precision for the Anubis, maybe on the rapid fire, maybe just enhance the rate of fire on that module even more. But that's just what I would do. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. I personally don't really know. It's just what I would do to make the ships a bit more appealing, to make the module the modular thing a bit more appealing, and to have a specific use for the ship and for the module. Have a bonus on it, so players would have to use it in order to take full advantage of the ship. And honestly, it would change the game. It would definitely change the ships to be a bit more unique, which is again a thing that I see the developers trying to do. For the most part, I would say that they did really well in the make the ship feel unique aspect. The bomber battleships are kind of, I would say, the best example of that. The new faction ships, they're good. I like them for the most part. I like them. The Anubis and I would say the Marzio, probably my favorite. But at the same time, the Cobra seems to be interesting with the bomb launcher. I don't know when I'll be flying that. I need to find a friend who will borrow that, because I don't have any ESC with me at the moment. As you can see, there are 140 million left. So yeah, I would love to try that little rattlesnake out, because it seems interesting with the bomb launcher, and might be interesting to see how that will work. Also, someone told me that these ships can jump. I haven't tried that myself, haven't had the time to do that really, but I've been told that these ships can jump. I know the Marzio has a written bonus on being able to jump around. I think the Cobra also has the same thing, but I've been told that this ship can also jump. All of them can jump. So that's interesting. When I say jump, they can jump through Sino, like like the Black Ops ships and stuff like that, which is interesting. Definitely quite a interesting little feature for these ships. Maybe it was a bug, maybe it was fixed. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea, because let me tell you, sometimes I don't even know what's a bug and what's a intended feature. It's a bit sarcastic here, because the last month or two we all know how buggy the game was for the most part. To give the developer credit, they did fix a lot of things. And the new engine, while I wasn't a fan of it when I tried it the first time, it was now it's actually for the most part fixed. I rarely encounter. So yeah, wait for the update though. I would wait for the last date before the old engine is no longer supported, because let's just all the bugs I was close to actually losing a ship when the screen completely stopped responding, and there was a little weird loading icon a little bit to the left of the ship, and I had to log back in Hull. So yeah, loved it. It was actually one of the last tests that I've done with the Anubis, I think. So yeah, been a ride for sure. Very happy that we have new ships. Wasn't such a bad anniversary. I would say the developers did a good thing to make things back, I guess, because of the big thing has been cancelled. And the new ships, all of this were also planned already, but I would say the the module design, well, now I'm actually kind of glad that it wasn't added, because it would just be like another implant grind, and I think we all are a little bit tired of the millions and millions and billions
Autopilot engaged.
into implants, and now we would probably have to do the same thing with the ship upgrades. So it's actually kind of a good thing it's been cancelled. Let them make that be different.
Warp
and
drive active.
I really hope that they just take the EVE Online system with the tech-free subsystems, because that's, I would say, is probably the safer option to go with. But that was the Annihilator. It's a pretty interesting ship. I don't know what to, if you have the Vindicator, if you want to do something, if you want to fly something new, it's a pretty interesting ship indeed. While it doesn't really seem to offer much over the Vindicator, I would say if you already have maxed out skills, then I guess you can fly it. But if you are having only advanced skills, if you like extra skills, then I would say maybe smarter to stay with the Vindicator, since you will actually have more DPS with the advanced skills than without the extra skills for this ship. But with that being said, tell me what you think about the Annihilator, and with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe, and with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.